Everybody have their notebooks out? Okay. So how's everybody feeling? Good. Last classroom session of this camp. How's that feel? Weird? Let's cut the side conversation, okay? So for this presentation, I don't have a PowerPoint or anything like that. I really just kind of want to discuss some things with you guys. We've touched on a lot of really good material this week. And so we're going to start by just kind of summarizing that. And then we're going to, because some of them were kind of big ideas, right? And some of them, it'll take a little bit of time and practice to put into application. And so what I would like to do is take this last opportunity to talk about some of those things and put them in kind of more of a shorter term context to where we can actually make them things that are actionable, things that we can do here in the short term to make the difference and start building towards some of those bigger ideas, okay? So let's start by talking about what we learned this week. I'm going to pass that to you guys. Give me a hand if you got something that you can share that you learned from the classrooms. Ryder.
How to set a SMART goal and what that is.
Good. Yep. Goal setting and planning. And why is that important?
Because just kind of setting like a big goal and stuff kind of like, it could just be like a dream almost. And it's like just getting a way to plan and achieve little small goals, steps on your way up to the big goals.
Perfect. Having a goal is one thing, setting the plan to accomplish that goal. That's the step that we need to be able to achieve the goals that we want to. Thank you.
Perspective.
Remind me of your name.
Brooks.
Brooks. Perspective.
Yeah. How different people look at things differently.
Mm-hmm. Is that the self-perception topic that you're talking about, Coach Martin? Why is that important?
Just like how other people can look in other sport of wrestling and like how we look on like other sports and like just like reflecting on like how like we like may think that something like boring or not what we like, and then might put that just in perspective how people feel about wrestling.
That's the outside perception. But what about how we feel about our role in wrestling? Self-perception.
Like what is important to us, like having reasons why we do it.
What about how we see ourselves?
Like, what do you mean by like how we see ourselves?
Yeah.
Like when you ask that question.
Somebody, that was a great answer as far as just being able to kind of build the perspective of what we want wrestling to be. Self-perception was what Coach Martin talked about, though, how we see ourselves. And why is that important? Somebody help Stetson out.
If you see yourself negatively, you'll perform under that perception.
Absolutely. The way that we see ourselves is absolutely going to impact the way that we perform, right? If we don't see ourselves in a high standard, we don't hold ourselves to a high standard, we don't expect ourselves to do well in those moments when it's tough, when it's trying and we have to fight through, a lot of times that's when we concede, right? So that self-perception is important. Okay, who can give me another topic? Mental toughness. Who presented that? Who presented the mental toughness presentation? Coach Haynes, yes. And why is mental toughness important? Like I said, this session is going to be interactive. We're not just going to sit back and chill and play with our phones or our toys, pens, things like that. So I need you guys engaged. Got it? Okay. All right. Why is mental toughness important? Yeah. But what if we're faced with that moment where we can fight through and it's kind of tough, or we don't fight and it gets even tougher. That moment to fight, right? Just choosing to overcome that, finding ways to work ourselves through that. And we'll touch on it a little bit later. Controlling our controllables, right? The things that are in our power that we can do, doing those things, even if sometimes they're not easy. All right. And then we also had a topic on leadership. Who presented leadership? What? Hold on. Coach Corey. Okay. Tell me about leadership. What'd you learn? Give me a hand. Being a cheerleader makes you a good leader. Good. You got something to add? Yeah, Ryder.
If you can't lead yourself, then if you can't lead yourself properly, then you can't lead others. You gotta learn how to lead yourself first before you can
Right.
lead others.
Because if you have others that are following you and you're not leading yourself well, they're going to pick up the habits by watching the things that you're doing. So, yeah, absolutely right. Being a bigger person? What's that referring to?
Like if somebody want to do something that's not good, you say no.
Holding people accountable. The leader holds people accountable, absolutely.
Taking like responsibility for your actions and other for your actions.
Okay. In the middle between the, yes. Good leaders empower other people. Remind me of your name. Darius.
A great leader won't break people down, they lift people up.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Give me another topic. This is the 7th, so we had 6. And I think we talked about 3 so far. Do you have one back there? We did have NIL. Yeah, we can talk about that for a minute. What'd you learn from NIL?
That you can make money off yourself now, though, save up for the future.
But is NIL specifically about teaching you how to make money? Or was there a bigger idea behind it? What's your name? That was Rachel, Wyoming. Yes. Brooks. I'm sorry. A lot of you guys are not in my group, so I apologize in advance if I'm asking you once or more than once about your name. Still trying to remember them even going out the door. Branding yourself. Why?
It's like the data that matters.
Pardon?
The data that matters.
Right. Right. It's not the engagement, right? Engagement isn't what's going to show the value of what we can do. Yep. And having control of that, right? Controlling your name, image, and likeness, or your brand. Everett.
You are the business.
That's right. Darius.
You don't want to be doing nothing, you want to be yourself.
Absolutely. Stetson.
If you don't run your business, someone else will.
100%. Will.
Wrestling isn't who we are. It's something.
Pardon?
Wrestling isn't who we are. It's something we do.
Right. And with NIL, the goal is to put ourselves outside of that thing that we do so that way we can have something sustainable when that thing that we do has to change. Good. Okay. Next topic. Ryder.
Design. Wasn't that the...
Yes. Designing a better version of yourself. Who presented that? Is he in the, you could kind of scan the room and see if he's sitting in here, and maybe that'll jog your memory. Huh? Is he not? Scan the room. Scan the room. Okay.
I'm very stealthy, right?
Yes. All right, now what's his name? I heard it. Coach Andrews, thank you. What'd you guys learn from designing a better version of yourself?
Setting realistic goals instead of
We did talk about that. That was a different topic, though. And we'll touch on that. Stetson,
Constant evolution of like positions, technique, and life.
say that one more time.
Constant evolution of positions, technique, and life.
Yeah. Things change to try to become more efficient. We try to make them better. Everett.
Movement requires measurement. Was that his, I can't remember.
No, that wasn't it.
Oh, it's close.
That was Coach Foster, and we'll come back to that.
Like your support team should know your goals and don't keep that to yourself.
Pardon? Design your. So I'll give you a quick brain jog. When we did designing a better version of yourself, we drew the cars that we would like to be, or that we would like to have. What's the perfect version of the car that you like to have? What's the perfect wrestler? What do they look like? What are their attributes? You guys remember that? Okay. Help me out. What do you remember from there? Okay. That was one thing.
We talked about the design cycle a little bit.
Okay. What about it?
You said that, everybody starts from a design and they keep building from that and testing it and finding things to make the design better.
Based on the materials that they have, based on the resources that they have, based on their skill and ability. Good. That's awesome.
Being aware of the attributes that represent the best version of yourself is like the way to be that, like just being aware of what they are. Because a lot of times you want to be able to come out sure what the exact attributes are.
Right. And sometimes you may have to refine, right? We think that we've arrived at that perfect version, then we have to refine that to actually get a little bit better. Good. Darius. So excuse me just a sec. I keep getting the same people answering while I have others that are having snacks and more concerned with that. I'm not calling out any names, but I would like to see a little more participation. Okay? Go ahead.
Everyone, no one did it alone, they had a support team.
I'm sorry, one more time?
No one did it alone, they had a support.
They had a support team. It takes help. I can't remember if that was that topic or not. Do we have any more on the design a better version of yourself? All right, what was the next topic?
Visualization.
Okay. I don't know that we did a topic on visualization. Close. We did talk about the mind. Reframing. Okay. That was not mental toughness. Neuroplasticity and reprogramming the brain. Goodness. And who presented that? Yes. All right, what did we learn there?
Use your five senses.
Okay.
To create like a mental reset, or like a mental piece of energy.
Okay.
Like to find something, like when you got a balance, like when you come back with it.
Wait, is that the one where like JB fixed his socks?
Yes.
You guys got to speak up. I'm all the way up here. If you're in the back, say that one more time, please. That's okay. Just say what you said, please.
I thought that was like the one where like he was talking about how like everybody has their little thing where it's like Jordan Gross like fixing his socks before he comes back, like center.
No, that's exactly it. That's a reset. You'll see some folks that wear tape on their finger. They'll reset the tape. Some of them will tear it all the way off. I don't recommend that in the middle of a match. They'll tear their tape off and get retaped. Yeah. I've watched wrestlers reset their ankle bands, get up slow from the mat. Those are all versions. Yes, Ryder.
Like the 5-step thing on how to like trick your mind, like where you write it, then you read it, then you think about it, and then you like try, you eat something, kind of like get like that taste.
Process it.
Use all 5 senses to visualize what you want to achieve.
Okay. What's your name?
Brody,
Brody?
I remember Coach like telling all of us to get up and find our own reset.
Mm-hmm.
For something that we do in our matches to keep our composure.
Listen to music before like a big match.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's as much of a reset, but just to kind of keep ourselves composed for a match. Yeah? Stuff, self-perception, leadership, neuroplasty, goal setting and planning, mental toughness, design better version of yourself. All right. So good job on the recap. So that brings us to this topic. And we're going to talk a little bit about the controllable keys to success. So we're going to kind of highlight some of those things that we've already discussed. But we're going to talk about them a little more in the context of I'm either in a season or I'm coming up on a competition day. What are some of the factors that are within our control to be able to make sure that we're focused and ready to go? And I'll give you an example before we start talking about it. All of you guys are school age, so you all take tests. How many of you guys enjoy tests? How many of you guys prepare for tests by putting together a specific program as you're learning the material so that way you can help yourselves to memorize it, so that way when the test day rolls around, or maybe it's going to be the next day, you're right, a day before the test, you know it's coming. We just do a quick review to refresh our memories on all those things that we've constantly worked on. So we go in and we take the test and we feel good about it. If that's you, raise your hand. Good. Getting ready to talk about that. So if that wasn't you, when that test day rolls around, how do you feel? If you don't have a program to be able to prepare yourself, how do you feel when you go into that test? You haven't studied. You haven't followed a consistent plan. Nervous, good.
Depends on the test. If it's a really difficult test with a lot of stuff to memorize, I probably wouldn't like the time that I didn't prepare. If it's an easy test that I can probably remember just based off the class material, then I think most of the time.
So what's your name?
Jacob.
Okay. So Jacob is saying, you guys can't hear in the back. Jacob was saying that it depends on the test. If it's going to be a difficult test and he hasn't prepared, there will be a lot of nerves and anxiety and overthinking. But if he has prepared, or if it's an easier test, then he's not going to be too concerned because he can probably pass off class material. And that's a fair answer. Anybody else? How do you feel if you're not prepared? So we go in and we sit down for that test that we could have taken the time to set our goal that we want to get an A or a B on that test. We could have put together a program where if we have a large vocabulary for the test, we're memorizing a small chunk. If it's 20 words, we're memorizing 4 words a day. We're spending an hour a day trying to make sense of the formulas or the theories so that way we can be ready to go, just breaking it up into small chunks. So now on that day before, we're trying to remember everything that we went over, right? And that ends up being a lot. And so then we start thinking about, oh man, coulda, shoulda, woulda. And now we're in that position where we're focused more on what we didn't do and our regret for not doing that than we are just actually going in and taking the test based on what we know. And you think that's going to have a positive or negative effect? 100%. Yes?
Sometimes it's like stressful because like sometimes I'll have like a couple tests or a few tests in one day, really simple like this. So if I prepare for one or not the other two, I get like stressed about the grade and stuff. So.
But we could probably create a process that we're preparing for all of them, right? Yeah. But to be fair, as humans, we try to put out the biggest fire. So if we have the big test and then 2 little tests, we prepare for the big tests, sometimes to the detriment of the ones that we don't perceive as important. So in general, what are some things that we can control?
How hard you work in practice?
Mm-hmm.
Preparation.
Yeah. Prep, effort,
Your diet.
diet. Yeah, we'll talk about that here in a couple minutes, but that's a great one. That's a big one in wrestling, isn't it? Is it a big one just on a normal day, just going to school if you don't wrestle? You're right. It absolutely is. Camden.
Attitude.
We can control our attitude. I feel like we just recapped something that one of our presenters gave us this morning, didn't we? Those are our controllables.
Your thoughts.
Yes, but those can be a little more tricky.
Hours of sleep.
Rest, yep. Diet, yeah. That was mentioned. You got one more, Stetson?
Discipline.
Discipline. Yeah, and I would say that kind of falls in the category of effort, right? You got one more, Ryder?
Weight.
Wait. Yes and no. We can manage our weight, yes. In that we put together a consistent program, or we monitor closely where it's at, right? Not starving it, not on the day that, oh, I can't eat because I ate too much yesterday, or I'm a pound or 2 pounds heavier on the scale, but just consistent management, absolutely. And all of these things are most efficient if we create a plan. So what are some things that we can't control?
The other opponent.
The other opponent. Good. And these are not just wrestling related answers that I'm looking for, but these can be factors in our performance related to wrestling. So one more time.
The other opponent.
The other opponent. Correct.
Bad calls.
Bad calls. Can't control the officiating. Stetson.
Like the outcome of situations.
Can't control the outcome. Leave. No? Or perceive you. Yeah.
Injury.
Injury. Sometimes things happen, right? Wrestling is a physical sport. What about family dynamics? Yeah, those are really good. What about if in the house maybe there's a dispute? Or what if something doesn't go right and we lose rest? What if transportation breaks down? Those are all things that, can be outside of our control, right? And I bring those up because those things are going to be things, if it's unexpected, it can be a level of trauma that can affect whether or not we can prepare for something, okay? So yeah, we're going to talk about some ways to deal with some of those things that we just can't control, some of those things we can't control as well. So let's start with preparation. In the room, what are some things we can do in the room to prepare? So now we're going to shift our focus back to competition. So in the room, what are some of the things we could be doing to prepare for a competition? Good. Yeah, effort. Put in a good effort. Yeah.
Doing extra reps after practice.
Extra reps. Good. Yeah. Practice how you compete. Yeah.
Taking the time to stretch out whatever you need before practice to try to get
Stretching. Good. What about taking notes? Can we take notes in practice? Can we have a notebook with us or use notes in our phone? Okay. What about having a plan? I mean, typically we're going to go off a coach's curriculum. Hold on. You can put your hands down for a minute. we're going to go off of coach's curriculum, right? Coach is going to have a plan for the day as well for the team. But if we have an opportunity to, if we have our notebooks, obviously we're taking note of maybe what works, what doesn't, how we feel on a certain day. So we can take that and we can factor that in as well. So we can put a little more emphasis on the things that we need to work on to prepare. All right. Who else has something we can do in the room? You.
Quality of drilling,
Quality of drilling. What do you mean by that?
like going through the motions first to get down what you're doing, and then you can slowly speed up, so you're not like doing it completely wrong, so you go to match. You don't know how to do, you take your time to do the move.
Yeah. Stetson. Good. Did you guys hear that one?
Yes.
Okay. Will. Being coachable. Listening to the coach. What the coach tells you to go and sit down and take a break.
Depends on the circumstances, I guess.
That's fair. And from my frame of mind, I'm thinking maybe you've been pushing hard. Maybe you look like you might be susceptible to injury and you just need a couple minutes to grab some water and take a break.
Deliberate practice.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to move on. Good job, guys. What about outside the room? What are some things that we can do to prepare ourselves outside of the room?
Decision making.
Decision making. That's good. Can we be a little more specific than decision making, though? Nate?
Study or do your homework.
Study and do your homework. Behind Everett.
Make the right choices.
No, next to you. That's a good one, but hanging around the right people. Yeah, choosing who you're surrounding yourselves with, because that can definitely be a distraction, especially if you're not hanging around people that are aligned with what you're trying to do. No, next to you. Huh?
Eating the right things.
Eat right. Yeah, absolutely. Pay attention to your nutrition. One more. Everett.
Prioritizing recovery.
Prioritize. That's a good one. That's a real good one. Let's talk about that for a minute. What is recovery? Back corner. Resting. Yes, resting is absolutely recovery. In fact, rest is one of the best forms of recovery. Because when we actually let our body rest, especially when we go to sleep at night and get a good night's sleep, that's typically when your body does the most repair. Okay, we go through our activities every day, and as we're going through those activities, we're taxing our body. We're burning calories, we're using the fuel and the resources from our bodies, and so if we're not doing the things that we need to take care of it and allow it to repair itself, it starts to break down. In the back. Icing and heating. Yeah, to try to minimize bruises and swelling and things like that. Yeah. Faith?
Brain as well. Like sometimes yourself or doing something that's relaxing, so you're not always super
Like maybe spending time away reading a book or writing or putting those devices down, shutting off the TV, just letting our mind relax. Yeah, good.
Going outside.
Yes. Going outside is another good one. There's a lot of value to that. Coach.
I just want to add one thing to emphasize off the mindset. I have practice in between here, and I was talking to two of our wrestlers, and being intentional about what your recovery plan is for your mind. What are you going to do? So I have one wrestler, I coach a girl, she likes to crochet. So that's actually in her periodization planning, her practice planning is her recovery. She's going to do crochet twice a week on these days. Another girl, she likes to color. Another one wants to get into journaling. So we're very specific about our physical training and wrestling and everything, but if you want to get good at this sport, you have to increase your longevity in this sport, and that's your mind. You can see your legs broken, you can't see that your mind's hurting. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So I can tell you, the people on the team, they have that longevity mindset that we don't get to see that. We don't talk a lot about that. But Adeline does meditation, Sarah does yoga, and they all have their thing.
Helen likes to dance, and I believe plays the harp.
And Tamira likes karaoke.
Mm-hmm.
So what is yours? And be intentional, put that on, and be intentional about that. That's very, very important. And it ties in, I forget your name, but wrestling's part of us, not who we are, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, rest and recovery, taking care of your body is critical. For those of you in this room, I'm assuming that wrestling is kind of the long play, right? We want to see how far we can go with this sport. That road, for some of those people that you've seen across the sidewalk in the room, it's a marathon, right? They didn't get there immediately. And yes, some train harder than others, but those recovery plans that Coach Eric is talking about, critical. Because otherwise you either run your body into the ground or you simply burn out, right? And if you're trying to get to be the best that you can be, we're looking years down the road, okay? So it's critical to take care of your bodies. All right, what about nutrition? We wrestle, right? We got to make weight. I'm saying it with kind of a smile, because I think you guys know where I'm going with this in the back. Tell me something. Tell me a little something that you understand about nutrition. After weighing, yes. What if you haven't eaten in a day or 2 days? What do you think? How do you think your body's going to react? I'm talking about you haven't eaten anything. How's your body going to react, right? Because we need a crash cut. We need to get those pounds off. It's going to be terrible, right? And we think about feeling weak, feeling tired, but if we're not fueling our bodies, put your hands down for a sec. We're just going to discuss this for a minute. You're feeling tired. So we think about the physical aspects of how poor nutrition feel. We don't talk much about how it affects our cognitive function, how we think, how we react, how we respond to things. Okay. Coach Clayton shared a story about a weight cut, and it was a tough period. And he talked about when he cut, the way that his grade point average dropped as a result. Sorry to put you on the spot, but that was a story that stuck with me. And so, yep, because your body has to survive. That's its priority. So if you fuel it well, it can thrive. It can do all of the things that you ask of it. If you don't, it's going to start making decisions for you. And often that's going to affect, how our brain's functioning. It's going to be very inefficient. Okay? Anybody else have anything to add to that? Yep. Anybody know the average amount of calories that we burn in a day? 2 to 2,400. 2,000 to 2,400 for men. So maybe a little less for some of you guys, but eventually that's where you get to. Yes.
Grand chest master, they'll lose 6,000 calories in one tournament, just sitting there playing chess. Consider that. Thinking burns more calories than walking the treadmill.
Still requires energy. All right, hey, let's cut the side chatter. Go ahead, Everett, real quick with what you're going to say to Coach, and then we're going to reel it back in here. One more time, I'm sorry, the door just closed. Yeah. How many calories are in a pound?
4,600.
Close.
And
I'll take one more guess.
3,700.
3,400.
Split the difference. It's 3,500 approximately. Okay. So that's calories in a pound. Anybody know what they recommend for the average daily diet for a person for calorie intake?
2,000.
So that's not taking into account strenuous workouts. That's not taking into account weight training. Okay? So what you have to put into your body is far more than that 2,500 calories a day. Okay? So, and then just in a practice alone, 500 to 800 calories are burned an hour through wrestling practice. So fueling your body is key. Anybody know about how many times you should eat a day? I hear a few different answers. Raise your hands, please. 4? 5? 6? Between 4 to 6 times a day. Especially as an athlete, it's important to have those fuelings in. And the recommendations vary. What was that? Okay. Like protein intake, half a gram to a gram per pound of body weight. And then you have some recommendations for carbs. And obviously all of our bodies don't handle all of those, the intakes of all of those things the same. So I'm not going to get too specific in those, but carbs do what for our bodies? They give us energy. And some is a little bit quicker than others. Give me an example of a quick carb. Sugar, yeah. Give me an example of a slow carb. So I heard noodles, potatoes, rice, all good stuff. So if I'm getting ready, or if I'm just getting ready to, if I've just weighed in, what should I probably be putting in my body because I only have an hour to 2 hours before I hit the mat? Carbs and sodium. Why sodium? What about electrolyte balance? What about making sure that our muscles are firing and operating properly? Our heart rhythm is kept correct. All right. So we can control our preparation in the room by being intentional with our practices, giving a good effort. We can control what we eat, what we put into our body, making sure that we're fueling well. When we're in season, we want to be disciplined with that. Okay? Probably going out to eat every night or every day, depending on whether you have open campus lunches. We want to be mindful of how we take care of our body, right? They say you are what you eat. And so if you're taking care of your body with poor nutrition, we're just eating fast food and processed foods and things that our body isn't going to process well to translate to building muscle back, to providing energy, that's going to show in our performance. Okay. Visualization and self-talk. How many of you guys actually spend time thinking about either of those things? I see Coach in the back. Good. What does visualization mean? Stetson?
Making mental pictures of like how you want something to turn out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Seeing yourself or seeing a situation before it actually happens. It's part of understanding how to use your imagination. But by doing that and being effective with that, we can actually kind of create some scenarios to be able to prepare ourselves beyond just our practice partners. or our time in the practice room to overcome adversity, to take that stress away like we talked about earlier, preparing for the test. Visualization, especially if you've had a hard practice or a long day, or maybe you couldn't get to practice, you were sick. Your body's going to react to those thoughts very similarly to the way that it will in real life if you can get good at visualization. Okay, so that's important. That's preparation. That's a big part. And self-talk, which we've talked about, that's another big one, right? How the way that we speak to ourselves, if we're disrespectful to ourselves, there's a pretty good chance that our performance is going to match the way that we talk to ourselves. So trying to reframe those thoughts, especially the negative thoughts, to make sure that we're setting ourselves up for success, that's important. All right. So for the last few minutes, we're going to talk about one specific detail, right? Because we don't want to sabotage our performance, right? We don't want to eat poorly. We don't want to shortchange ourselves when it comes to sleep. We don't want to skip practice. We don't want to get poor reps because we want to be in control of what we're doing to set ourselves up for success. So this last one could be a little bit controversial, but I feel like it's going to be a little bit fun the way that we're going to play with it. So we've done all the right things going into, it's coming up, so we'll say the US Open. We've got to all of our practices. We've fueled ourselves well. We've made sure we got good rest. We've asked all the right questions. We reflect on our notes. But then we talked about the things that we can't control, right? How many of you guys are familiar with track wrestling? Okay. How many of you guys, when we're coming up to a tournament like this, are studying those brackets, trying to figure out who's in it, trying to figure out potential matchups? Okay. And how many of you guys stop? How many of you guys stop when you're going through those brackets as you're processing how you're preparing for your tournament at the names? I'm wrestling Bo Bassett. That's it. I'm wrestling Bo. Oh man, that's going to be a tough match. That's a big deal. I'm not going to lie. It's a big deal. But does he have two legs? Does he have two legs? Does he have to step on the line? Okay. So that means you guys have to go out and compete, right? He had to make weight. You had to make weight. But I seen the look. So I'm going to challenge you guys a little bit because that's one of those things, we could put that in the category of self-talk, right? If I'm wrestling Bo Bassett, seen some of your body language, I heard some of your responses, that's Bo Bassett. But what if rather than looking at his stats and accolades, we try to find some of his most recent competition film? What's that? Okay, that's fine. If he got bronze, that means that somebody exposed something that he needs to work on, doesn't it? You guys see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
You look like you're not feeling it. You see where I'm going with this? Okay. So we can leverage that. We can still know who's in the bracket, but rather than obsessing about who it is, we can look at what they do. So our last piece, we're actually going to have some fun. We're going to watch the heavyweight finals from the NCAA. We're going to divide up. You guys have your notebooks, so give me 4 groups. 2 over here, 2 over here. Divide yourselves equally. One of you in each group, listen up. One of you in each group, pull out a piece of notebook paper. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I need you guys together in your groups. Four groups. And then I need Vince and Trey. Come up to the front. And I need Lath. You guys just come up here real quick. Just bring yourselves. You don't need anything else. And back group, give me Camden. Camden, come on up. Okay, you two are facing off. Come on up, come on up, come on up. Quick.
Hey, Trey, I got all my money on you. Go, Trey.
I'm big though. That's crazy.
Bro. He won punch you.
All right, Camden, Lath. You guys are facing off. Rock, paper, scissors, best 2 out of 3, and then winners, raise your hands.
Let's sit down.
Let's go, Trey.
Sit down, scissors twice.
All right, raise your hands. If you won, raise your hands.
Yep.
All right, you guys are Team Wyatt. So here's what your assignment is. We're going to watch the match. It's going to be fun to watch, so this is going to be tough to do, but this is the challenge between your groups. Looking at tendencies, okay? We're looking at stance. What's the lead leg? What's the lead hand doing? Okay? Taking notes. You guys are Team Gable. Same thing. So all of you guys are working together to analyze the match and come up with the techniques that they're using or strategies that they're using so that way we can talk about it at the end. Everybody got it? Yes. What's that? All right. Hey, listen up. We have a question. Go ahead. Let's have 4 sets of notes total. Because otherwise, if we have a bunch, it gets really complicated.
If he's asking, can they take notes and then break out together as a group and then share one answer? Like in their group, and they each be writing things down.
And then compile them at the end. Well, we're running short on time, so listen up. We're just going to have one central note taker, so if you see something, relay it to your note taker. Hey, Mike. Shut down. It's locked.
Coach, I gotta go to the bathroom.
Hustle. All right, here we go. Do we need volume to analyze? No, we don't. We're watching.
Wait, so we're doing the tendencies of Gable? We're Team Gable. So we're just doing the tendencies of Gable. We're doing wide Henderson's.
Yes.
One person strong right hand. Strong right does that, tries to go for the leg pass on the spot.
I'll skip when I can. I'll skip when I can. Good grief. All right, here we go.
Probably lay on his belly after he's taking this.
we're not doing it.
Terrible first one.
Reaches a lot. Why is that? Right hand collar.
Nope.
Wait, you can go back.
Yeah, sorry about that. Alright. Here we go. Alright, here we go.
Yeah, you could be in. Yeah, like everyone does. Yeah, look at this. This guy can't stay with like he stayed. He's reading that.
Oh! Like you.
Okay. Oh, what is that? You see that double color? Oh, you didn't use that. Yes, it is. Really? Yeah, I did not know that. I saw that. There's an Spencer's. Anyways, Gables, do you see the tendencies of why we're getting tendencies of why because we're team Gables.
All right. What's that? All right.
I'm not gonna watch it. Ask when you get done.
So we know how it finishes. We actually have 5 minutes left, so we're gonna bring it back in. Yeah. So if you were Team Wyatt, raise your hand.
That means you're against Wyatt or
Team.
Yes. What'd you come up with? Right leg is heavy on his left. That's Steve or Wyatt. Okay. Back, Team Wyatt. What'd you come up with? Okay.
What is it?
Yeah, give me some examples.
Wyatt's a right leg lead. Every time Henderson tried to collar tie to his shot, he always matches counter type of look.
Okay. Like counter collar tie.
And he was, on his toes.
Okay, so pressure forward. Okay, Team Gable. What do you got?
So Team Gable, that's tendencies, wide, lots of fakes.
Supposed to be you're scouting the guy that you are on the team of. Like that was so anyway. Give me the tendencies you came up with. So you guys scouted Hendrickson, I'm assuming. What'd you come up with?
He reaches a lot with his big hand and likes that big collar type.
Yeah.
And then he'll get here and he's super strong with his right foot.
Yep.
And then he'll go and get to the double collar type.
Mm-hmm. So heavy pressure. Yeah. Likes collar tie. Hey, let's reel it in. Okay. So my apologies at the beginning. I did not make that clear. That if you're on that team, kind of the concept was to scout the other guy, but that's okay. The picture is bigger. That really doesn't matter at this point. Back corner, you guys were Team Gable as well? Okay, give me what you came up with. Leads with his left foot. Counter collar tie, got it. What about attacks? Did anybody get any attacks that they prefer? Coach?
He leads his left leg, but he switches to right leg lead, but he only attacks when his left foot's forward. He looks to counterattack when his right foot's forward because he sets the guy up and looks to reattack.
Good stuff. Huh? Wyatt likes underhook a lot. Tall guys, yep. Jack the shorter guy up. Get him a little off balance, taller. All right, so in summary, the whole point of that exercise, right? Like I said, we like to jump on track or now USA bracketing and take a look at who we're wrestling. And a lot of times we're looking at those stat lines and we're looking at those stars. Like, man, it's going to be a good match. We let ourselves get anxious and maybe a little more hype than we should, right? Where if we use this system that we just tried, right? We write down a few things that our opponent likes to do. Those are things that we're practicing in the room every day, right? Right? Maybe not. Maybe we don't practice collar ties and how to counter. Maybe we don't practice 2-on-1s or other control ties and how to counter. Or do we? Every day, every single day. And those are things that we can train ourselves to adjust to, right? We can train ourselves to be able to be successful with what we do well, in addition to understanding the tendencies of who's in front of us. Okay? And that's a way to kind of relieve some of that anxiety in preparing for that match rather than getting ourselves overly excited or anxious by just simply worrying about the accolades of a person that we're wrestling. Okay? Again, we want to control what we can control. We can't control their stat line. We can control how we prepare for them. And I picked this match because how many of you guys expected Hendrickson to win? I didn't. But clearly, Hendrickson did not expect Hendrickson not to win. He believed he was going to be a champion. He prepared for the match. He went out and executed that match. If you guys recall earlier in the tournament, I think it was the second round, Gable wrestled a guy that was not prepared for Gable. And he got disqualified because he stalled out.
I think one of the things that Wyatt Henderson probably prepared for was doing all that scrambling and stuff off his shots, because a lot of the guys this season and stuff throughout his career will just concede takedowns to him.
Mm-hmm.
So I think doing that scrambling and forcing those weird positions kind of made Gable uncomfortable.
Yeah, and then they had that tough scramble in the first period, right, that really affected Gable's gas tank. So in the future, we've talked about the things that we can control. Our preparation is one of those things that we can control. This can absolutely be part of our preparation. Okay? Anybody have any questions for me? That's all I got. Thank you.